I bet you can't wait to get back here in March, huh?
I love it. Yes, I'm really excited. I have a lot of extended family that are coming to the show. So.
Oh, awesome! You got three Indiana dates too, so that's going to be fun. You got Indy.
I know. I've given them.
Wayne, yeah.
Yeah, I've given them options. I'm like, listen, if you can't come to this one, you can come to this one. If you can't come to this one, you can come to this one.
Yeah, that'll work out well. So.
Yeah.
And so, how's the tour going so far? You're about a week in.
Yeah, we last night was show number 4 of the 48 that we are doing. We already did 10 in November.
Right.
But this is the first of the first 4 of 2014. Mm-hmm. So we have 44 more to go. But so far so good.
Yeah, and it looks like tonight is the 4th show in a row that you've done. It looks like 3rd or 4th in a row straight. Is that kind of hard on you as a vocalist doing that many shows in a row?
I think 4 is a good number, and you kind of want to break.
Yeah.
But I will say on this tour, no one's set is super long, so that you can see 10 different bands play and not have your ears be super tired from listening to them all play 30 and 45 minutes apiece.
Right.
So, our sets are shorter, so I'm used to playing for an hour and a half, and, we're on and off the stage in, less than 20 minutes, and so, it's, you kind of try to cram as much in for your fans as you can, so you maybe, like one song, we just do a verse and a chorus of one song into another song, so that somebody that, was really wanting to hear that song got to hear a little bit of it, but not necessarily the whole thing, but we try to do our best with our time slot, and yeah, I mean, you give your. I would say if I was doing a normal 20-minute thing for someone, you work in time to talk, and you only play 3 songs or so, and then have some time to talk. But we actually squeeze 6 songs in, and so you really in that shorter time slot, you give 150%.
Right.
And so 4 shows in, you're ready for a little break.
Yeah, I bet. I say with the catalog as far as big as yours is, I would imagine it's hard to really pick which songs you do, because there's songs you want to play. Yeah. There's songs that fans want to hear.
Yes, that was actually one of the more difficult things in preparing for the tour, because of what you just said, and truly wanting to play what you think the fans want to hear, but still at the same time recognizing that I have a new record out this year, and there may be some songs that they haven't heard that, one has been the biggest single off the record, and one is the current single, and so it's, really important to play those 2, and for somebody that may not have the new record or may not listen to the radio very much or whatever, there's maybe 2 songs that they've never even heard, and they may be thinking, well, why aren't you playing God-Shaped Hole or what? Because I don't play God-Shaped Hole on Winter Jam, and I know that a lot of people from years back, and the whole Bruce Almighty movie soundtrack and all that. I was very grateful for them using the song and the song getting as much airtime as it got, but just really having to trust that fans that are loyal and have been there and are going to be there are journeying with you, and realize that I have new material, and it's a new time in the life of Plumb. And so I do play a couple more familiar songs from before, but I try to present the new material as well. So when I was on my headlining tour in the fall, I played all of that stuff.
Wow.
It was I forget how many songs we played, but it was definitely, if you're a Plumb fan, you're going to hear some of your favorite songs. But on Winter Jam, it's kind of like I guess it's almost like a coming to see 10 artists, and it's this really, really delicious appetizer of all of them. Like, just everybody gives you a little taste of some of their best stuff, and you go home and you say, I think this and this is my favorite. I'm going to actually have a full course meal of it and go buy the record.
I've never heard it put that way. That's kind of good. I see.
Well, I haven't either. I just made that up, but
I see it as kind of like a preview of what every artist has to offer live. And when you see them on Winter Jam, you see the preview, and then you want to go see the headlining tour to get more of it. That's kind of how I see it.
Right, and that's true. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said earlier, you did the West Coast tour earlier, which is I think it's kind of a smaller version of Winter Jam. Less dates, same amount of bands, but less dates. Now you're coming back doing the East Coast, which is the big one. What is it about Winter Jam that appeals to you and makes you want to come back and play more Winter Jam tours and everything?
Well, I will answer this from the position of both a female and a mother, and wife and mother, that I'm gone for the weekend as opposed to weeks at a time. And so if my children don't get to come out, which sometimes they do, if they don't get to come out, I've only been away from them for the weekend because we are back in Nashville every Monday morning.
That's good.
And that's where I live in Nashville. And so, like I said, if I've not had them with me, then I've only been away from them for the weekend. Secondly, you get to be, and every night I'm in front of enough people that it would, just one show would take me at least 10 shows to see that many people.
Wow.
And so it's, and that's being generous. I mean, it could take 15, 20 shows to see, this many people, depending on how big the crowds are. But, you in one night, you're in front of so many people that if you think, okay, I would like to be in front of this many people, and it's going to take me this many shows to do that. Well, with Winter Jam, you can do it if you count the November dates as well, like in 58 cities, you can see as many fans as it would have taken you a couple of years to see.
Wow.
And so, in just 3.5 months, you've been able to actually be in front of people that, so I think just and when I say as a female and as a wife and mother, I gave you more of the wife and mother element just because I'm also a wife and mom and being away from my children and that kind of thing. But even as a female, it's a more predominantly driven male industry, which is completely fine. I mean, that's just the way that it's been, and it's growing daily and constantly. But to be a part of something where I'm for Love and the Outcome as a husband and wife who kind of leads worship at the beginning of the night. But other than Jody, who's just precious, I love her. I love her single, "He is with us, He is with us." I love that song. Other than her, I'm the only female artist on the entire tour, and so, I don't think I really have to explain that. Like, it's just, there's no, you don't leave Winter Jam and go, now which girl was the which girl was the which, every band is different, every band is unique. I mean, Lecrae is totally different than Newsboys. There is just no, so that everybody kind of stands out. TFK is the only band like themselves out there. 10th Avenue North is the only band that does what they do. And so everybody is very, very unique, and so it's easy to kind of remember what you liked and who was who. But especially being the only, solo female artist, it's a great opportunity to really stand out as, okay, that was a token chick, and so I can definitely be more open about being a wife and a mom from stage than being among 10 other females, and everybody's talking about the same thing. So to be able to talk about, my song that was inspired by my son, the song "Don't Deserve You," of just how I don't feel like I deserve him, but yet God allowed me to be his mother, and yet that's how I feel about Jesus. I don't feel like I deserve his love, but he gives it to me anyway. And then to be able to flip that around and, sing a song about being loved for who you are, and it's just not limited to the ladies, but it's there's a part in the song that say, the song is called Cage, and I say, I've got issues, that's for sure, but it's why you kind of like me, I know it, boy. And it's referring to when I heard my husband tell somebody, my wife is crazy, but that's kind of why I love her. And I tapped him on the shoulder, and I was like, I heard that. And he was like, well, I mean, I guess it's true. I mean, you are a little loco sometimes, but, like, that's what makes me love you. And so it's like, girls, like, it's okay to be who you are. You will be loved for who you are. And you know, if you're patient and you wait for the right one. And so just, I don't know, just to be able to really just be free as a wife, be free as a mother, be free as a girl, and it to be, you know, to stand out. And, again, to be in front of just so many people and not have to be away from my family so much. It's just a really great situation for me as an artist. And it's not for everybody. I think there's some artists that just would not want to do this because they would want to be able to, you know, present their most important catalog in an hour in front of everybody and have everyone's undivided attention and not be, you know, one of 10 artists every night.
Yeah.
But it's, for me, at this, you know, we just finished a headlining tour and we were able to kind of just, you know, take our time. And so this has been kind of a privilege to, like, the headlining tour is a lot of work. And Winter Jam is a lot of work, but there's a lot less work involved because there's just such an incredible crew out here kind of manning so many different stations. And so it's a lot more shows, but it's just very, very, very different. And so I think, I don't know, I feel very lucky. I feel very, very blessed to be able to have done both, to have just come off of a headlining tour and then to be a part of Winter Jam that, you know, does what I just said it does and still get to be mommy.
Awesome. And then promoting an album that's been out for maybe a year, maybe a year and a half or so.
Not quite. It came out the 1st of March.
Okay.
And so,
almost a year.
10 months or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's got to be a fun situation being able to promote an album that's still pretty new as well, especially on a tour like Winter Jam and on a headlining tour. What has been the experience promoting this record? Is, you know, what stuck out to you about promoting this record compared to past album cycles?
Well, every album that I've released before now, I had not gone through what my husband and I went through, which has altered and changed my life completely. And my husband and I finished this record, and about 6 weeks afterwards, my husband and I very unexpectedly separated and almost divorced. And we were separated for about 6 months, and so I already talked to the label about if we do divorce and I'm, you know, a single mom of 3, then I don't want to be signed and touring anymore. I'm just going to be a songwriter and stay at home, and so this record wouldn't come out, and it wouldn't be, you know, singles would not be coming out and being released and all of that. And God did an amazing, beautiful, miraculous miracle in our marriage, and we reconciled, and we remarried each other all over again this past May. We never officially divorced, but we, I guess you could say, renewed our vows. But for us, it was like remarrying, because I know some couples just renew their vows to just, you know, freshen it up because they've been married so long and blah, blah, blah. But, and it was just beautiful and wonderful. I love when couples do that. But ours was really like making a new commitment, because we, because in, you know, many different ways we had broken the commitment that we made originally. And so just to have gone through that and have this record mean what it does to me now, I love Jesus more than Jeremy Lee, my husband, and I didn't before that. And the single Need You Now, that was written about panic and anxiety attacks that I've had since I was 13 from this really interesting case of what doctors just kind of labeled as IBS, and not really having a real clear description as to why I would have these, you know, stomach aches. When they would come on, I would panic, and I still do. I still have them, and it still happens. Not nearly as much as it did years ago, but they come on, and I panic, and the anxiety mixed in there. I mean, it becomes exponential, and I vanish. I hide somewhere, whether it's a restroom or somewhere, and it is terrifying to me. And so I have a mixture of a panic and anxiety attack and a stomachache kind of all at the same time, and it can be socially paralyzing. it has been a physical handicap for me in many different ways, and emotional and social, but of just how many times have you heard me cry out, please take this? And him never walking away and never leaving me alone and always giving me this little peace in the midst of my storm, like, I'm here, and you're going to come through this just like you do every time, just hang in there, has been the air for me to breathe in those what feel like hopeless moments. That little bit of hope has been oxygen to get me through those moments. And when my marriage fell apart, the record wasn't out yet or anything like that, and I had a friend with me, and she wanted to listen to my new record that I just finished, and so we had a rough copy in the car and beating out that one, and I lost it. I just lost it. That song became completely new to me of, wow, I thought I needed you in the bathroom stall of my high school restroom. I need you now like I have never needed you before. My life is falling apart, and so he showed up like he always does because he never leaves, and he gave me that little bit of hope that I needed to keep breathing. But it was more, instead of breathing through an anxiety attack, it was breathing through a possible divorce. And he took his gloves off and he told the enemy where he could stick it, and he fought for us. And our marriage is, I can trust you beyond a shadow of a doubt, is better than it has ever been. And if I had to relive it all over again, I'd do it because of how much better I know Jesus and how much more confidence I have in him and how much fear was dissolved in me, because the creator of the universe, who's probably a really busy guy, took the time to fight for me. And he fought for our marriage, and he fought, ultimately, he was fighting for so much more than just that, because we all know that divorce affects everyone. I mean, we affect each other. I think sometimes as Christians we want to pretend that we don't, but we affect each other. And our actions have consequences, and marriage is one of those really concentrated things that, you know, when it's not going very well, it affects a lot more people than, you know, certain other actions. And so I have to just praise God and say, and I said in an interview earlier today that how my new slogan for my life, I want there to be on my epitaph of my, you know, grave or whatever you call it, my headstone. But there's always hope, and that sounds a little contradicting to have it on a headstone, but it's just that's what I want to live for. I want to live that there is always hope. And I remember my husband and I on the verge of true divorce. He'd emailed me, and long story short, he had emailed me to say, do you think there's hope? And I couldn't get to the phone fast enough, and the first thing I said was that there is always hope. And we have a T-shirt that says that now, that there's always hope. And I said earlier today that marriage is a place where you both have to be willing, but if you are both willing to do whatever it takes, there is hope for your marriage. And but if you're willing to do whatever it takes and he or she is not, your spouse is not, there is still hope for you. There is still hope for you. And I think sometimes when we feel hopeless and we think we're hopeless, it causes us to make decisions that contradict what is best for us, and we compromise and we give in to things, and then we 10 years later look back and say with real regret, what was I thinking? I knew better than this. And I don't know how many people come through the autographed merch, you know, after the show line and lean in quietly and they say, I wish I had fought. Because the joy that you project from stage about the new marriage that you have, I wish I had fought. And it's exciting to me to be able to look at them and say, but there's still hope. And then they'll say, well, no, you know, he, you know, so-and-so, you know, my ex already remarried. And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, there's still hope for you. There is still hope. And I just think we give up. And I don't want people to. Think about if you discovered this really great toothpaste and it immediately, like, whitened your teeth, got rid of every cavity in your mouth, and even reshaped your teeth to look like you were a soap opera star. Like, you know, this amazing toothpaste. Would you keep that to yourself?
No.
you'd be like, have you heard about this new thing? I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm just overflowing. Like, my cup is overflowing. I have witnessed a miracle, and I will not go into the shameful details of, Jeremy and Tiffany Lee, but how we got to the place of divorce. Like, if you can list the reasons why we should be divorced in this world, they're there. And, but God is not of this world. He tells us to hope in something that's beyond this. And for whatever reason, I did. And he proved himself true. And so I can't take no for an answer when people say, no, it's hopeless, it's hopeless. No, I'm hopeless, I'm hopeless. No, I'm sorry, you are not hopeless. And this situation that you're in is not hopeless. Because I witnessed too real of a miracle that could only be done by God, to believe someone's lie that they're telling themselves. And so I'm tag teaming with God, with taking the gloves off, fighting for people to believe and hope again.
Awesome. That's an amazing story right there. I don't even know what to say. That's awesome.
Well, thanks. I think it is too. And I told God, I remember with my eyes practically swollen shut in the bathroom of my house because I didn't want my children to see me cry at the time. Because I don't know if I mentioned this, but we protected them from our separation. I was really creative, and so was my husband. We agreed that as angry as we were with each other, do not bring them into this. We love them, and we don't want them to be anxious, and we don't want them to, until we are actually 100% getting a divorce, we're not talking to them about this.
Yeah.
And so although it was probably peculiar that we didn't live in the same house, he lived with his parents at the time, I would say things like, well, Daddy's working on a project, and we were trying to sell our house at the time, and so we actually used that to our advantage, and we said, we're trying to sell the house, and my husband and his father own a business where their offices are out at their farm. And so it was actually kind of convenient to say things like, Daddy's office is out at Pop's Bananas. It's easier for him to stay out there right now while we're trying to sell the house and work on that project. And I remember the first morning that we woke up in the same bed, and all three of them, one by one in their jammies, come in our room, and I remember my oldest, and he said, "Is that project over?" And it was like, we both lost it. And of course, they were seeing us cry, but even though their parents were crying, their parents were all snuggled up together, and there was a confidence in the love that they were seeing, that there wasn't fear, but it was definitely probably peculiar to them. And my husband finally, was able to get words out. He was like, "That project is over. I don't ever want to have to work on a project like that because I miss you guys and Molly every night too much." I know. And so the other night, we came home from tour Monday morning, and he was fine, but that afternoon he called me and said, "I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck. I think I might be getting the flu." So he went to the doctor, found out he was getting the flu, so he went straight to his parents to stay because he knew how many shows I have, and our kids have school and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so he was like, I'm going to stay there for a couple of days so that I can kind of quarantine myself. And my little boy, he said he's going to stay at Pop's Bananas, and I said, yeah. And I felt like he was about to say, like he did a couple of years ago, but he goes, it was just so precious to me that, he goes, "Is he going to stay in his old room?" And I thought he was talking about while we were separated, and I said, "His old room? You mean, what do you mean?" He goes, when Daddy was a little boy, because my mother-in-law has each room painted a different color, and so he was like, the yellow room was his room when he was a little boy, but is he staying in the gray room or the yellow room? And I said, "Oh, I don't know, probably the gray room because it has its own bathroom." And he was talking about his old room when he was a little boy. And it's like he wasn't referring to 2 years ago when Daddy lived there. And it's like, God, I really believe God protected their little heads and their hearts because he knew. And I think he was just like, if your parents will get their act together, I'm going to protect you guys from this. And And so, I don't know, just please, parents, be thoughtful of your children when you're talking. Even if you're not separated, don't talk ugly about your spouse to your children.
Yeah.
There's so much of their identity is wrapped up in who you are, and their understanding of who God is in their parents. And that's really humbling and convicting to know that my children's idea of God is in Jeremy and I right now. They're too little to fully grasp what you understand more as an adult. So is God patient? Well, are their parents patient? Is God kind? Well, are mommy and daddy kind? Is God forgiving? It's like, if we're not patient and we're not kind and we're not forgiving and we're not generous and we're not gentle, etc., but we're telling them that God is. You know? Just remember that when they're little, their understanding of who God is you, and that should be convicting. And granted, we're not perfect. And I don't know how many times a week I have to say, listen, God has so much more patience than I do. I'm sorry for, acting impatient, like having to kind of apologize for not being like Jesus right now. But just talking ugly about your spouse and each other, like if you say, your dad is such a liar, well, there's a part of your child in their brain that is going to wonder, well, am I a liar? Because he's my dad, and I'm part of him, And, so often we tell our children, oh, you look just like your daddy, or you look just like your mom, oh, you act just like daddy. And we mean it endearingly and as a compliment. But then if you say something negative about your spouse, then you're also kind of connecting them, to that when you've said, you're just like me, yay! Oh, your dad's a jerk. And it's like, we don't realize that we do that. So just really be thoughtful of your children, especially if you're in marital trouble, of what you say in front of your kids.
Yeah. So after winter,
that's a soapbox for me. That's a soapbox for me. So you can edit out whatever you want to do there.
So after Winter Jam is over, I know it's a while into the future. Do you have anything planned for after Winter Jam is done, or looking forward to anything after that, or anything you can talk about yet, or is it stuff that needs to be?
Yes, I do. I am taking the month of April off from touring, but I have a couple of events that I'm a part of that are related to more of a songwriting realm. But from the touring perspective and for my children and that kind of thing, I've taken the whole month of April off. We are playing about every festival there is this summer, of which my kids get to come to, which is going to be so fun because they'll be out of school and they get to come. But now I'm in the middle of writing a book.
Cool.
Telling a lot about some of what I just talked about in my marriage and things that I've learned. And it's, I don't know if it's going to be a memoir. We're not quite sure if it's going to be a memoir or if it's exactly what. We are working on it now. One of my favorite authors, her name is Susanna Foth Ottman. She's written some books that I absolutely love, and so she is writing it with me. She's not a ghostwriter. We sit down together and we hit record and we talk, and then we have it transcribed and we go through and sift and sort and pick out, okay, well, this story was funny and this one was interesting, but this one, we don't need that. Because, much like co-writing a song, I do better when there's someone else in the room pushing me. And so I felt like left to my own devices, the book would take years and years. But with Susanna, like, on a weekly basis, we sit down for 2 to 3 hours every week. That's keeping me motivated to actually having it finished where it could actually come out in a more timely manner. So I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm self-publishing it, and it doesn't have a title yet or anything, but I am in the middle of writing a book. And then the record actually has been getting a lot of interest in the movie world. I don't have any specific movie and specific song to confirm, because this movie is looking at this song, and this movie is looking at that song, and this movie is looking at, but you're like kind of sitting with your fingers crossed, hoping like, oh, I hope they use it. I do think that the record this year has some opportunities in film and television that will kind of catapult it into maybe a different, So, and I've been doing, while on tour, I've been doing songwriting with some of my favorites, and Paul Van Dyke, who I've collaborated with, who's just the legend in EDM, trance music, this dance just brilliant man. I'm in the middle of working on 3 tracks with him when I'm not on stage out here on Winter Jam. So,
wow.
So more dance music in the future and
awesome.
Whatever. So I'm not actually writing for a new Plumb record yet. I feel like this record has been out for 10 months, and I honestly feel like we maybe just scratched the surface a little bit. I think it's definitely got some longevity that some past records maybe didn't. So I'm really excited about that.
Could be one of those long tour cycles that happens every once in a while.
I think so. I think this is a record that is going to hold its own for a little while. I think there's some more to happen with it, and then with the book and speaking, like we're hoping that the book will go along with some speaking engagements that aren't necessarily related to the Plumb show, but actually Tiffany, the girl, speaking and talking about things that I learned. That I've never been to college a day in my life, but I've had some, from the School of Hard Knocks, I have actually learned some things that I want to use my platform to share and just say, hey, there's some stories of mine and some things that have happened to me as a mom, as a wife, as a girl, as an artist, as a writer. So, you might have a chat. In my book, I'm assuming there's going to be a chapter that someone says, yeah, I didn't relate to that at all because I'm not this or this or this, but there's going to be a chapter that definitely stands out among the others. It's like, oh, okay, the chapter on such and such, that's what really connected with me. And then going from there to see what happens and what happens next. Hopefully it's the first book of many, but my manager has said, you have so much to say that maybe you should just write books. Like, you talk so much, maybe you should just write books so that you get it out of your head, you get it out of your heart. You're accountable to it, it's been therapeutic, and now the whole world can, so you have them to tell everybody, every detail, you can just hand them the book and say, read chapter 4 or whatever.
Awesome. Plumb, thank you so much for taking time today to talk to me. It's been great. I can't wait to see you at one of the Winter Jam shows here in Indiana.
Me either. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah. Awesome. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
See ya.